I want to talk about a story that came from one of you. I was on a social media platform, and someone who works at the Michigan Department of Corrections, a prison in Michigan, messaged me and said there is a major staffing shortage. And he told me about all of the issues they are having in Michigan when it comes to staffing. So I reached out to the state, and they gave me a statement, and I'll have that for you in just a little bit. But I want to bring on Byron Osborne. Let me bring in the monitor right here. If I can do this right, I'm good with the technology. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Okay. Oh, so again, what is your title? You are?
First and foremost, I'm a corrections officer for the state of Michigan.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I've been a corrections officer for 29 years. I'm also the union president for the Michigan Corrections Organization, which represents all of the corrections officers in Michigan.
Okay. So an employee reached out to me, and obviously they didn't want to go on camera. That's why they have you, and they would, understandably not want to go on camera. And I've had several other people voice concerns saying there's a staffing shortage. Is that an understatement, I guess?
It is. We're about 5.5 years into the staffing crisis, which has been progressively getting worse each year. Currently in the MDOC, there are approximately 1,000 vacancies in the corrections officers ranks. Most facilities in the state, there's 28 prisons, over half of them are running anywhere from 25 to 40% short for corrections officers.
Wow.
That's pretty eye-popping numbers.
Yeah. And what does that do? Many of us have had jobs before where someone doesn't show up to work, you have to work double. And I was told that there is mandatory overtime
every day.
Every day.
All three shifts. We have minimum staffing requirements each facility. So with those vacancy numbers, there just aren't enough of us to fully staff all three shifts. So everybody's working the shift following their own in many cases because there aren't enough folks coming in.
So if I'm scheduled to go to work tomorrow morning at a prison, and am I assuming that I'm going to get overtime? I mean, is it an everyday thing?
It's every day.
Wow.
Every day. So we have folks at a number of our facilities in Michigan right now that are working 16-hour days, 2, 3, 4 days in a row.
Wow. Someone just Cotton Correctional Facility. Is that in Michigan?
Yeah, that's in Jackson.
Oh, someone just commented here because I have a live chat going. I was at the Cotton Correctional Facility, and the CO on our block worked a double every single day. Oh, he was a prisoner. Sorry, he was a prisoner on the chat. And he said, I was released in 2017. I think he's a prisoner. I'm going to ask, saying he was released, I'm assuming a prisoner maybe. So, yeah, the prisoners, they know what's going on, obviously, too.
Yeah, they live there. They know exactly what's going on.
Okay, yeah, he was a prisoner. Okay, well, glad you're, turning your life around. So, wow. So what is well, first of all, the state knows about it. The lawmakers know about it. It's not a secret, right? This is well known.
No, we've been putting this out in every avenue we can for quite some time. And, our level of frustration is peaking here. We're urging state legislators to take action because it's only the state legislature that can make impactful changes such as benefit packages, post-retirement benefits. Those are the types of things that over the years, the past 25 years, former legislatures have stripped away from corrections officers, which then led to people departing to find other work because you're not going to work in a prison if you can find other work in the private sector that's similar pay and benefits without the risks of working in a prison.
And that's
so happening. We're urging them to take steps.
Yeah, and that's happening. You're seeing people leave to probably drive for Amazon or go to a warehouse or whatever.
Every week they leave for any job under the sun that they can find.
Every week, yeah. I mean, make the same money, and the danger, obviously, dealing with in a prison versus driving an Amazon truck or something. It's
Right.
So so you're saying it's the lawmakers that have to do something. The state of Michigan, the lawmakers, they just voted months ago on billions of dollars in a budget. So obviously it doesn't sound like they're doing yet what needs to be done.
Well, there's one of two ways to get at this, and we're hopeful they'll consider both because other states and federal agencies have done this. Uh, we have legislation introduced on our behalf right now that's going to be up for them to vote on in this session to restore a hybrid pension for COs. We believe that will be very impactful with retention. First of all, it'll keep the folks here from leaving, and then over time, word will spread that that is out there, and that will then in turn help recruitment. The other thing that could be done that other states are doing, and this can be done outside of the legislature, this can be done through our negotiations with just the Department of Corrections in the state of Michigan, is the compensation rates. Our starting pay for COs is right on par with going to work at Amazon or Walmart or Meijer or anything like that. They're in the ballpark of $20 an hour. That's what a CO starts out at. So you're asking somebody to come work for $20 an hour, get mandated like it's just at an unbelievable rate, and then deal with the stress of managing sometimes a difficult population. So I mean, it's not an ideal situation to draw people into.
What are the what are the qualifications to become a corrections officer? Do you need to be in law enforcement previously? I always wanted to know this question. How does one enter that profession?
Yeah, you've got to pass a background check, a drug test, and you've got to attain 15 college credits in order to obtain employment and keep employment.
Okay. Gotcha. Let me I want to put it up because I want to be fair with the Department of Corrections. They sent me a statement. I'm going to read it just for everyone. It says the Department of Corrections has been transparent about the challenges it faces. These challenges are not unique, but unlike other employers, the MDOC must always maintain operations within sufficient staffing on site to protect the public, our staff, and to those that reside in our facilities. So I'll stop there. That's important because if you have a McDonald's and you don't have enough employees, they can just shut down for the day or go home at noon. You can't shut down a prison or just tell everyone to go home. That's not how it works.
No, it's a 24/7 operation, and we've got to have bodies in positions.
What dangers does this represent? Obviously, to the workers, working double shifts, mentally, physically on them, and their safety as well. What are the negatives? I mean, I just said those, but public safety as well could be an issue.
Yeah, it impacts the prisoner population. We're talking about 30-some thousand folks that have expectations of getting the things that we're required to provide to them, whether it's rec periods, programming, meal periods, everything that they have. I mean, those are just mini societies, right? They're just like anybody else. So when you start to infringe upon those things and limit those things due to lack of staff, those folks are obviously a little more volatile than the general public because there is an expectation. Everything in the prison system is an absolute routine. It's a daily routine. Like everything is programmed. What time they're able to come out of their cells, what time they go to eat, what time they go to yard, use the phone. It's the same every day, or at least it's supposed to be. But when the staffing levels drop, we sometimes have to limit that stuff. We have to cancel it. As you can imagine, frustration builds. Next thing you know, prison things happen.
I thought as an employee, I worked in TV news, nothing like working in a prison, but well, I don't want to joke. But mentally, a prisoner could escape or your mind, you're not programmed to work 16, 18 hours a day. So mentally, that's not good on any human being.
No, I mean, the idea is for corrections officers to come in well rested and alert.
Yeah.
We're tasked with not only giving them the things they're supposed to have, but our primary job is custody and security. There's a reason those facilities are surrounded by chain link and razor wire. We're there to, make sure that the public is safe and that those folks inside of that little society are also safe. So There's elements in there that take advantage of the fact that there's not enough of us, and they run around beating each other up and extorting people. And that prison stuff happens every day.
It does. Someone in the comments, and I think I know the answer to this. They said other states have been having corporations privatize prisons. I know that has not worked out well in other states. What's your take?
Not the answer.
Yeah,
that's not the answer. Those staff are way less trained and way less paid. You got to keep in mind, those are for-profit companies. Unlike the taxpayer-run state of Michigan employees, their training is far inferior to state employees. Other states, I mean, we could talk all night long about the issues that private prisons have had.
Okay, so definitely not the answer in your mind then. Okay.
Not the answer.
Okay, let me bring the statement up again. It says, we continue to achieve the mission. So they say they're doing their job because of all of your people, but doing so has placed a burden on our current employees. That's why MDOC has undertaken a variety of efforts to increase recruitment and retention. This includes the largest recruiting campaign in our history, consisting of paid media, recruiting, events, blah, 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 other academies. As a result, staffing is stable at some facilities. Well, some communities continue to face a challenge. So you said before we went live, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but what is it going to take to get someone to take the job? You can you can pay on social media and run commercials, but is that going to make people actually take the job?
Yeah, I mean, advertising for the sake of advertising is not the same as advertising with something that's appealing. There are plenty of folks in all of our communities in Michigan who, if the compensation was appealing and the benefit package was appealing, would take this job and stay in this job and make a career out of it rather than a flash in the pan. Right now they come in, they check it out. Holy cow, I can't live here at the prison 16 hours a day. I'm out.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, and it's hurting their family life as well. Are you finding many people that actually they really love what they do or they like being there, but they just can't do it mentally or for many reasons? Like they would love it, like you said, to be there, but they just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, there's folks that got into the job because it interested them and they do like the work, but it's too much of a sacrifice. We have spouses giving ultimatums. Hey, I haven't seen you in 4 days. We have children to raise here. We have things to take care of. Like, it's for real. Like, the things that the average person takes for granted, finding an afternoon to mow your grass, things like that, running to the bank. These folks are like, I can't do that until it gets to my days off, because I'm trying to eat, sleep, and interact and get back to work.
And hopefully, I'm reading the comments. Someone just said burnout. They're burned out, many of them.
Yeah, they come in and there's the work pressure with these shifts gets to a point where the officer's focus is on the time clock. When am I getting out today? Rather than, hey, what am I supposed to be checking on today? Do I need to look into this? Do I need to help this prisoner with this? That all is going out the window because they're just physically drained.
And hopefully it does not come to a major incident, a prison riot, a prison's overtaking or a mass escape. Hopefully it doesn't have to come to something huge for lawmakers and leaders to really change something, because it should never have to come to something like that, because they know the risk is there, right? I mean, I don't want to have to be reporting on a bunch of corrections officer being injured in a riot or something, because that danger exists.
Yeah, and it's not just corrections officers. We're only half of the staff in the department. There's a bunch of non-custody, staff in the facilities, healthcare staff, maintenance staff, teachers, counselors, you name it. We're half the people. So, I mean, there's a lot of folks who are subject to these types of situations. I mean, if things were to go like that, it's not just us.
And you represent just the corrections officers, correct? Right?
Yes.
And I'm sure you work in the prisons. Is there a shortage with those individuals, like the kitchen, the teachers, the counselors? Are they short as well?
Not even close to the same realm we're in. The only other group of employees that have consistently had problems keeping people are the nurses, the prison
Okay.
nurses.
Okay.
And
And that
as you can imagine, um, when faced with the choice of working in a prison versus securing a job at a regular hospital, you know what they're going to pick, right?
exactly. Okay, the last part of their comment. It says last week 125 new corrections officers graduated from the MDOC's Lower Peninsula Academy, and the next academies will start in October. Those interested in a career can visit the website. But you were saying there they put that number out there, but the goal, the goal was actually higher.
Yeah, every year in the Michigan Department of Corrections budget, there's appropriations to hire approximately 800 officers. There's only 4 academies per year. They're quarterly. So multiply 125 times 4. What do you get?
Yeah, you're not getting.
Not 800.
Yeah, no.
So every
Somewhat.
year, what we're seeing is a net loss because on average, the normal attrition just due to retirements, promotion, and now an ever increasing number of resignations because of the overtime, the departures are far outpacing the people coming in.
How bad is it getting? Because I know like some rural sheriff's departments and police departments at times they're only running and they don't say it publicly at the time, but one officer or one deputy in a huge county. Are we getting dangerously close in the prisons to having like razor thin margins of employees? Like if 3 people were to call in sick, we could have a major issue.
Yeah, I mean we're not only running with those high vacancy rates, but in addition to that, they're closing officer positions on a daily basis. And what that means is they just won't fill the position. So if there's a housing unit that's supposed to have 3 officers, they'll run it with 2. Or if there's a yard module that's supposed to have 2 officers for, 300-400 prisoners at a time, they'll run it with 1.
Is that to make the numbers look? Why is that?
It's because they run out of bodies.
Well, yeah.
They mandate all that they can. They run in, there's facilities running into instances where they exhaust the mandate list. There's nobody left.
Are there regulations? I don't know how this works. Like I talked to you before, like with teaching, it's good to have one teacher maybe with 15 or 20 kids. Are there any regulations on like how many corrections officers have to be with how many prisoners? Or is it more of a recommendation and not like a hardcore rule?
Yeah, it's a blend of both. Each
Okay.
facility has a custodial staffing assignment sheet, which designates which areas of the prison have what number of officers assigned to it. So that's supposed to be met on a daily basis. That minimum number is supposed to be, there's supposed to be that many staff there that day. At
Gotcha.
most of the prisons, that number is not being met.
Because I just thought of this, and I know we're in a litigious society. If something were to happen to an inmate or even a teacher or a counselor, the state could open themselves up to lawsuits because of this.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the requirement is right there in black and white. If there are supposed to be 3 officers in that assignment, you're going to have to explain why you ran it with 2.
Yeah, and if something goes horribly wrong, a lawyer out there is loving that to get that case probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to
No, I understand. I
light the
just know how.
fire, but yes.
Yeah, I know how the world works. So you said there is legislation pending right now. Can people who are watching, will it help if they call their local representative? I mean, that can't hurt and tell
Hey,
them that they care.
squeaky wheel gets the grease. And we're trying to, we've got a number of legislators, obviously, that support this because they introduced it for us. The struggle is getting enough of them to support it. There's many legislators that don't have prisons in their district and don't generally pay attention to what's going on in the Department of Corrections. So we're trying to advocate. That's why we're doing these spotlight reports where we're focusing on an individual facility, saying, hey, this facility is 35% short. Here's the number of overtimes they ran in a 2-week pay period. I'll just give you some numbers. At the women's facility down in Saline, in a 2-week pay period in August, there's 3 shifts at the facility, first, second, and third. 794 overtime shifts in 2 weeks. So in Jackson, there's 4 prisons in Jackson.
Okay.
The Charles Egler facility in that same period had over 700 overtime shifts in 2 weeks.
2
The
weeks.
Cotton facility had over 700 overtimes in 2 weeks. I mean, this is just a 2-week pay period. Now, move on to the next period. That cycle all starts again.
In hearing that, that's not going to make me want to go work there.
No. I mean, you're trying to recruit people saying, hey, yeah, it's a good job. We need you. And they're like, well, wait a minute. I'm going to come in there and get run over by the overtime train. I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah. So, okay. So people are watching, call your lawmakers. I know we always say that, but it actually could make a difference if they start getting letters or calls or emails. What do they say? Just support the legislation that is for, how should someone word it if they call their lawmaker?
Yeah, there's a Senate bill package right now. The numbers are 165, 166, 167, but you don't need the numbers. All you need to say, because they all know about this. The House and the Senate are fully aware, because both these bill packages, they're mirroring bill packages in the House and in the Senate, which we're trying to get through both sides so they can go to the governor for a signature. But in essence, you don't need the numbers. If you reference the hybrid pension bill for corrections officers, they'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Is this a problem? Is this not a partisan? Are you finding, or Democrat, Republican? This really shouldn't be a political issue, right? It should have nothing to do with politics.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, every elected official should have the citizens of Michigan in mind. And when you have, 28 facilities with 30-some thousand incarcerated folks who have the potential to be, in the midst of some significant problems and potential uprisings, you should be paying attention and care about that.
Yeah, and like I said, I hope to God, a lot of things change when tragedy happens. I don't want a tragedy to happen. That should not happen to get the attention. Sometimes I'm in mid-Michigan. When Midland had a huge flood, changes were made and things happened, but it shouldn't have to come to that. For something to happen.
All they got to do is look in the history books in Michigan back in the early 80s. There were prison riots. And a lot of the same factors we're dealing with now were present then.
And you run into that danger because obviously the prisoners, they know what's going on. They're not stupid.
No. And it's not their fault, really, right? I mean, yes, they're in there to serve a punishment for whatever they did.
Yeah.
But they're still supposed to have the things that they're supposed to have. We have to run humane facilities. We have to run peaceful facilities, and we can't do that without the staff needed.
Gotcha. Someone just said in the comments they remember the prison riots in the 80s. I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. I don't remember it though, but I go back and look. So back in the 80s, we were in similar circumstances, and that's what started to result.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an exact mirror, but I mean, obviously some of the things in the prisons have changed since then, but a number of those things do correlate. And at the end of the day, regardless of what the issues are, if you don't resolve issues that are impacting the prison population, the end result is the same.
Yeah, and it may not be popular for the governor to talk about this. It's popular to talk about roads, fixing the damn roads, but
well, yeah, it's frustrating to us that she made a point of getting on the UAW strike line and supporting their line of work in the private sector. We're her employees. And it's a little bit frustrating to us that we're a term and a half into her governorship. She's yet to speak publicly about the prison situation.
Governor Whitmer knows about the dire straits that you're saying you're in, and you haven't heard a lot of feedback.
Yeah, it was like this when she took office. Now, I'm not saying we haven't heard feedback. I mean, she's aware. I'm just saying she's not, in our opinion, there's no urgency. We need urgency from the governor. We need urgency from our state legislature.
And with you, it's a public safety issue. With the UAW, I mean, that's a situation in itself. But with the Department of Corrections, you're dealing with the safety of not only the public, but the individuals. So you're saying it should be more than just having a picture taken on a strike line. It should be about what matters.
Yeah, we need impactful steps taken. Yeah. Is what we need. This can't go on like this. The staffing crisis it snowballs. The more the overtime ramps up, the more it drives these folks out, and they say, "Listen, I can't do it. I'm going somewhere else."
Is there, and let me ask this because I don't know, and maybe this is a question for a judge. Is there any point where they stop putting people in the prisons? I mean, or do they say, okay, you don't have enough workers? Do they start paroling people or not sentencing them or putting them on tethers? Or I don't know.
It's a domino effect, right? I mean, that ramps up pressure on county jails, and then they end up with the same problem we have. Not putting people in that all are dangers to the citizens, who have shown that they're going to be a danger. We would never support those folks getting a tether or probation sentence just because the state of Michigan hasn't figured out how to hire and retain corrections officers.
Yeah.
Because what happens is innocent people get hurt and impacted when folks are out on the street that shouldn't have been there.
Are you finding, I know in Genesee County where I cover the news, their jail is overcrowded. Are they keeping people in local jails longer because they can't go to the prisons, or is that impact? Is it a domino effect?
Yeah, it happens. Right now over the past 3 or 4 months here, there's been an uptick in incoming prisoners into the state system.
Okay.
And some of that is just because it's taken so long. There were so many things backlogged because of the COVID situation that there's the court systems are catching up.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate you taking the time from beautiful Upper Peninsula, Michigan. So one last word, it would just help if people got the word out to the lawmakers, right? That's the least people can do.
Yeah, I mean, our future is in their hands. It has to be legislative action to make impactful steps in benefit packages and compensation packages to make this job appealing. So folks are like, hey, yeah, I will go do 25 years there for you. But you got to make it worth it. Nobody's going to clean skyscraper windows for $10 an hour.
No. Okay, well, I'll let you go. Thank you so much. Keep me updated. And if I hear anything, I'll let you know. But thank you so much.
All right. Thanks. Have a good evening.
Okay, have a good evening. Wow. And that story right there is just one example of all of you reaching out to me.